All right. Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Clark, and I'm the program director of social work here, as many of you already know. I just want to thank our presenters for being here today and let you know that they may have times for question and answer throughout the session, but they'll talk to you about that. And we are recording the session. But the title for today is Triage for You, Recognizing, Understanding, and Working Through Secondary Trauma as a Helping Profession. And we have two guest speakers. The first is Barbara Fiske. She's the director of Clear Thinking Solutions, a mental health educator CBO. She was a trainer at ACE Sciences for the state of California's ACE Aware Grant in 21-22. Recently, she became certified by the Trauma Healing Institute to facilitate grief recovery groups in faith community settings. Barbara is a life coach and a spiritual director, working to promote healing for her clients and especially those caring for our community. She is on the leadership team of Fresno Community Health Improvement Partnerships Trauma and Resilience Network and a resource for the National Christian Community Development Association. Second presenter is Kim Contreras, who has spent 30 years living, learning, and working in urban Fresno with World Impact. Kim's journey brought her to clear thinking when she became certified in the method in 2018. Clear thinking is a foundational element of her personal and ministry life. She desires to see the church equipped with these tools so that they are able to minister in messy places and to do it from a trauma-informed healing place, both for themselves and others. Her current role is trauma specialist at World Impact and Central Valley Justice Coalition. Let's give them a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It is so good to be with you today. And we are excited to do this in a participatory way. And we know that's a struggle on Zoom. So we just want you to know that we invite questions. We'll be checking the chat as we go through, and we'll be sharing some things with PowerPoint, but we'll be taking that down so that we can continue to participate. And we'll also probably have a few breakout times. So we just want to give you kind of the lay of the land as we enter in here. We have a couple resources we're using as we do this. One of the books we're pulling a lot of these things from is Trauma Stewardship. We will be taking some of the cartoons from that. If you have not read that book, it is for us. It is the book that tells us about our secondary trauma, and it comes up with very practical ways to process and to continue to, how do we maintain health when we are often in these places where actually we're experiencing those very high chemical responses. And we want to be able to do that well. So that's where a lot of our processing is coming from today, as well as the clear thinking method. So we want to just start with this fun cartoon. Barb's going to bring up our slideshow here. You want to go to the duck? Yeah. Maybe you should ask yourself, here's our two ducks, why you're inviting all this duck hunting into your life right now. Did you ever feel like this? You ever believe that, what did I do? I said I wanted to be a social worker, and somehow I've become a magnet for all of the trauma that is happening. And so as we begin to just dive into this, we want to look at, yeah, you are not crazy to be in this field, right? This is Social Work Appreciation Month. And our hope really is that we leave here today feeling like we had a little bit of a spa day together, thinking through how do we take care of us and how do we do that well. So if you're feeling like these ducks, you're in the right spot. You are not crazy to be doing this. You might be a little crazy, but we believe that there's some really good things in that crazy. And so Barb's going to take us into our next section, looking at some of the specific tools.
Thank you, Kim. So a couple of the handouts that you received was something that looks like this, some bullet lists, and some diagrams. And we're going to be sharing these things in the PowerPoint, as well as there's this attachment too. So if you don't have these, but if you have extra paper, blank paper would be great. I'll walk you through some of the exercises that we'll be doing together. So so happy to be here with you all. I was sharing earlier as we were setting up that I'm recovering from COVID. I was diagnosed last Thursday, or positive, but symptoms came on Wednesday, and I had to clear my schedule until today. So I'm glad to be here, not in pain, that I have a voice. I'll probably nap for the rest of the day after this is over. So let's get started. Let me share with you. What I'd like to do is define a word that, there we go, that we use pretty often, but I want to define it for this context. And it's a word that's used universally in the counseling realm too. And this is the word acceptance. So the idea of this word acceptance is it's a state of being. So it's when you are present, like in the present, and you're able to observe the facts. So you have the mental capacity to be in the present, and you're able to observe the facts. And you have strength. You have strength to look at these facts, to stay in the present, to access your best state of mind, which what we mean by that, your best state of mind, like all of your mind, like you're not in survival mode. You're using all of your resources, and you're able to take wise actions. So we use this word acceptance in the clear thinking method trainings and such. Sometimes we don't use this word. Kim and I do a lot of walking alongside, let's say, survivors. And this word may not be the word that we use because they've had to accept. They've been forced to accept things, and it means different for them. So we will use instead like being present in your best state of mind. But I want to share with you this wonderful word of acceptance. It's a great place to be, and it describes where you are when you feel like you are present, able to look at the facts. And even if the facts are, for example, that you don't have all the facts in front of you. So this is the word acceptance. Any questions about this word? Anybody have any questions about it? Okay, great. I'm going to now introduce another word that may not be new to you, but it's helpful for our discussion. And that is this word tension. So tension is what we feel in our body. And it may be kind of like the thoughts that we have, or even the things that we may say in response to stress, to a stressor. So the way our body and our mind are created, they're one, like they aren't separate entities, right? So our mind and our body are connected. So when we are reacting to a stressful thought or stressful situation, we will feel it in our body because of the way our nervous system has been created and how the organs and muscles and everything works together, circulation, breathing, and all that. So tension is a gift to us. It's the body's gift. The body's gift is signaling alert to act and defend self. So it's the first thing that happens in our reaction to stress is this tension. And sometimes it's the perfect gift because it can be felt and acknowledged. But other times it stops clear thinking and viewing. So if you can think about something that happened recently that may have caused you some stress, and think about how your body might feel to it. You could see how in some situations, if you're overwhelmed with that tension, it would be hard to think in the moment. So that's this word tension. Okay, now let me go a little further. What I'd like to do, invite you all into an exercise. So if you could take out a blank piece of paper, I'm going to invite you to draw squares on this piece of paper, different sizes. Make sure they're not the same size. And it doesn't matter how many, you just need like 4 or 5 or 6. And just take a moment to do that. So take a piece of paper, draw your squares. I mean, they could look kind of like a rectangle too. Okay, now I'd like to invite you in those boxes, we're going to call these tension boxes. If you can think about some things that have caused you tension recently. So going back to to this slide, you'll see that there's a scale there, a habit of reactivity scale. And on the bottom is 0, and at the top is 10. So what this implies is the 0 means you are in a place of acceptance. You are feeling engaged, pretty much at peace. You're able to look at the facts. And then as you climb up that scale to 10, you're overwhelmed. You cannot think, you're so stressed out. So think about things that are in the middle area, like 4, 5, 6. So this is not super scientific. So you can think of things that have annoyed you, bothered you, things that have been in your mind, and write those different things in the boxes. I'm not going to ask you to share what you write in the boxes. This is just a tool for you to use as we go on to some more things. So just take a moment and write them down. And so you don't have to write full phrases. You can put symbols. I put like a $sign in my biggest box. Put wind and tree in another big box because of the storm that we had here locally last night, where I thought our big tree was going to come down, and some other things. And then if you could think about it on that scale of 0 to 10, put a number in each box. Again, would you give that box, would you say that was a 7? Would you say the box is a 4? Okay, let me stop sharing. And then if you could, with the share of hands or some sort of symbol, emoji, let me know that you're done or you're ready for me to move on. That would be great.
Just to clarify, Barbara, you want one per box, correct?
I'll have one per box. And they don't have to be the biggest things. They could be whatever comes to your mind. And if you got at least 3 things done, and at least one of them's closer to 4, 5, or 6 area, then that's good. All right. Anybody need more time? Any questions about that before we move on? Okay. I'm going to hand this, I'm going to give it to Kim. She's going to lead us through something to do with these boxes.
Yeah, so we want to, so this is one of the tools we do for ourselves to help triage ourselves when we're in a really stressful situation, or even just trying to handle something that's minor. It's what I call one of those accessible tools. We've worked a lot with children and teens in an urban setting, as well as survivors of human trafficking and all the things in between. And I found that if I can manage myself first, I bring something different. Those times when I'm not managing myself well, when I'm in a more reactive place, then the conversation goes a lot differently. So this tool is what we call one of our accessible toolbox tools that we can access, and it can be taught to children all the way up. So I want you to just draw a stick figure on your paper. All right, this is going to be you, and we're not going to look at it, so you don't have to worry about having a perfect art stick figure here. It's just whatever stick figure you draw is great. A lot of what we do is process art, so it doesn't matter. And
Kim,
on
I'm sorry, Kim, do you want the stick figure on a new piece of paper or the one with the boxes?
you can, wherever you want to put it. If you want a fresh sheet of paper, we're going to do a little bit of work. You can have some more room. So yeah, you can decide kind of where you want that. All right. And what we're going to do is look at that picture of you and that stick figure. And the first thing we want to do is notice the tension. Where are you? So pick one of your boxes that you want to look at today. I would pick something that's not the biggest on your list. So, I've got a couple that are in that 4, 5, 6 range. So I'd want to pick one of those. Okay. And I want you to notice your tension where it goes when you look at that box. So where in your body are you feeling that tension? And then just circle that on your stick figure. So we're going to notice the tension and circle it on our stick figure. So for me, one of the ones that I'm constantly is one of my boxes. It's a smaller box than it used to be, is time, because I am a P on the Myers-Briggs. So time and I have never been friends. And so it's something I'm always constantly aware of. And then I'm trying to manage my stress of, right? So as I look at that with time, the first thing I'll usually notice is my shoulders, right? So on my stick figure, I would be marking my shoulders. If I'm running really late, it might go all the way down to my gut, right? So you kind of look at your box, figure out on your stick figure, where are you noticing that tension? Where is it coming up for you? Okay. And then I want you to imagine your stick figure carrying that box all the rest of today. You are going to walk with that box. It's going to keep being on your shoulders or in your stomach. And how does the tension in your body look by the end of the day if you continue to carry that thing around with you? What will your stick figure look like? Will the tension move to new places? Will you be flat on the couch? What does your stick figure look like if you carry that tension around with you through the day? All right. And this is what we look like without acceptance. This is the second step. Just looking at ourselves without acceptance, carrying this box. Okay. Now I want you to set that picture of your stick figure aside. We're going to like click and drag it away, right? And we're going to create a new stick figure. And this stick figure is going to look at this box with acceptance of the facts, with strength, with some reserves that you've had over and over again through your life, okay? So when you look at the situation in your box with acceptance, you can see it, you can acknowledge it, you can stay present. What does your body feel like now? What do you notice shifting in your body as you look at that with new acceptance? The facts are, I need to be somewhere by 2. The facts are, my daughter is often struggling to put her shoes on and get everything together. The facts are, so thinking about that, I hear lighter. Okay. Yeah. How does that tension shift for you? Okay. Feels further away, distant. Okay. Yeah, there's some space created. Some relief. Yeah. So now the last one is to notice your new number. So if that box was a 6, what's the new number you have for the situation? And write that new number down underneath your new stick figure. All right. Yeah. So what's interesting about the brain, as it alerts us to tension because it wants to try to keep us alive and safe. As we get used to doing this tool, it took me about 6 months, it starts to click in almost automatically. And my body starts to find those rhythms and those grids quicker. When I've done this with our youth and our after school program, I even had a 6th grade boy pray and thank God for this tool. So if you need proof, I feel like 6th grade boys praying is always proof, but he was so grateful to have something to help manage his anger. And so for me to be able to go into a situation and to notice right away what my body's doing and how it's feeling, and maybe how it's even connected to another box that I didn't even know I had, has been just a really important thing. And then with that, there's been some other tools that we've added that have just been helpful grounding things as a part of this. Any questions on this before we move to that? Acceptance makes a difference. If you had a wow experience, that's how it was for me the first time. And I think, Barb, you're the one who tells the story about how we did this somewhere and the person goes, what was that party trick you just did? Like, what was that? What did you just do to me? So if you had that, great. If you're like, I'm still stuck on acceptance. We had another friend, it took her a long time. Acceptance was this word she kept tripping on. And so that's why we changed it to kind of strength or being present, because sometimes acceptance makes it sound like I have to agree with it. And that's not what we're asking at all. So yeah.
Kim, I had a question. I like this activity, especially for people who haven't explored where trauma can be held in the body. I'm wondering, how could you adapt this exercise for people with different abilities, like someone who doesn't have fine motor skills or visually impaired, or who can't actually draw or see? How would you adapt this activity?
That's a great question. So a lot of times we will just walk through the 4 steps with no drawing. I invited you guys to do that today just as kind of an extra thing. But Barb, you want to put the slide up just so you can see these 4 steps? You may have them on your paper too, that if you downloaded our packet. But we would literally just, and a lot of times we'll just have people close their eyes while we do it, or kids close their eyes, and just have them go through these 4 steps, and we'll just do it verbally. So that's a great, yes, it can just be done verbally as well. So the drawing is optional. Because obviously when you're when you're driving and that person cuts you off, you don't have time to do stick figures, right? So we definitely want to let you know this can be used just verbally. Yeah, it's a good question. But it is fun to get them moving their bodies around if you can. You can, we've had people, when I've had survivors that were in a really heightened place, going for a walk and kind of doing this kind of back door in a way, like, hey, can you guys notice a color that would cause you some tension right now, because they're already in a tense place. So I'm trying to get their mind off the situation onto another tension, and then kind of walking them through with colors. I've done that when we've gone walking and used billboards and stuff that were on Belmont while we were walking. So there's, God will give you creative things, I feel like, in the moment for what you need to. But just having these 4 things has been a really simple tool. There's so much complicated stuff out because our brains are so complicated about trauma, that one of the things that I think Barb and others that I'm working with, we're trying to find the most accessible tools that help people in that moment when things are really high. And this has been one that has been helpful for my own body as well as those we're walking with. Any other questions though? Oh, that's great to hear, Sandy. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Barb. She's going to walk us through some of the other grounding things that we can add to this for ourselves.
All right. So we call these rescue exercises. They may actually be very familiar to you. There's grounding exercises. This is not a complete list, but things that we find really helpful. So on this slide, you'll see a real easy one to do wherever you're at is the idea of slowly rotate shoulders in your head. So if you could take a moment right now and do that slowly. You might hear some crackling, some release of some of the maybe hormones and chemicals that have settled there. You've already been working today, doing life today. So slowly rotating helps break that up. And it communicates too, that action communicates to the rest of your body that this is what we're doing right now. We're lowering our tension. Sitting up straight is amazing. So sitting up straight, if you're standing, being aware of that, the importance of shifting, and that allows your stomach core muscles to support your sagging self better. So it also puts you in a feeling of strength too. So the next one would be allow new strong inhale and low, slow exhale. You want to, when you do this breathing, there's so many different ways to do good deep breathing. What you want to keep an eye on is that you're not raising your chest or your shoulders while you're doing it, because that's stressful, shallow breathing can be. And what you want to do is you want to feel it go deeper. And then when you exhale, you want it to be slow, and you want to feel like you're pushing it out, and you want it to be longer than your inhale. So it could release the bad air. So you take in that good air. If you get dizzy, you may not be exhaling long enough. So there's the box breathing where you take a breath in, hold it, let it out, hold it, and repeat. Different ways of doing this. What happens when you do this kind of breathing, it releases these good chemicals. And when we go into survival mode, our brain actually, the way our system and nervous system circulation works, it takes away oxygen from our frontal lobe where we're going to be, which allows us to be in a place of acceptance. And it sends that oxygen to our limbs so that we could do something, right? We could do fight, flight, or freeze. So when we do this wonderful, beautiful breathing, we are bringing oxygen back to all of our brain, which communicates to the body. We can be present. We can be in a place of acceptance. Even if something really important is going on, even if there's a serious thing going on, bringing that oxygen back to all of our brain helps us to be more who we are in that moment. And then there's another one, move your arms above your head. And all these things you could do in meetings, all of these things you could do while you're talking to clients, to family members, to the person on the phone who put you on hold for an hour. You know, it's harder to do driving, but yeah.
Barbara, does it matter if you breathe out through your mouth or your nose?
No, whatever works for you. The important part is you want it to be deep breathing where your diaphragm helps push it out when you exhale, and you want it to be slower. You might start, if it's a crisis moment, you might start fast, but then slow down and exhale longer than what you breathe in. So there's so many different ways of doing it, including you could pretend you're blowing out a candle, and you could pretend you're smelling in the scent of a rose. Whatever is helpful for you. Right. Here's a few more that you may not have heard of before. Wiggle your eyebrows. That invites oxygen to that frontal lobe again for solutions. Fanning the fingers slowly outward from a fist. And that might, got to choose when you do these things. So if you're trying to help somebody you're with lower their tension too, that breathing is, I forgot the word for it. It's like yawning. It's contagious. As you do your deep breathing, their body wants peace and oxygen too. They might actually start doing the deep breathing. They may not know what to do about this if you do this in front of them, but this is very helpful too. It helps release tension. And then of course, any of the meditation, relaxation exercises and tools out there, especially yoga, are helpful, especially like things like Lectio Divina, Lectio Visio, centering prayer, all of the contemplative worship things. If you can only do them like for 5 minutes a day, what happens is it helps, it's like training your body to be in this place of acceptance, to be present. So when something does happen during the day, because it will, because you're human, and because of the work that you all do, you're going to be able to access this place of strength faster. Any questions, any thoughts? Anybody want to share their own, like what they do to help lower tension? Kim's putting in the chat some of the apps that we find helpful. Oh, it feels revigorating. I know the eye wiggle. Yeah. There's other Samoic practices I wish, like my spiritual director has tried to teach me some movements from Central America, like which fingers to pull during what kind of feelings. Those are all very grounding. So Yeah, so that's a great thing to say, Patricia. You've done them all at some point, but you weren't sure what the purpose was. So let me, I'm going to just tell you right now, the purpose is to bring you to a place of acceptance. So all of the cliche-ish things that you've heard about calming down, they are all to shift your body from a reactive state to a place of presence so that you can now look at the facts, breathe better, have all of your brain and all of who you are, your wisdom, your experiences, your curiosity, the humor, the hope that God has given you. It's all of those things are to help you. Something that we haven't put here, it's more of a thought than a physical thing. And that is the action of being grateful. Being grateful shifts your body also. Your mind, you can imagine if you're in your survival mind, being grateful is not, it would be considered possibly harmful because it takes a moment to be grateful, a pause to be grateful. And so you can be grateful about absolutely anything, the speck of dust on your desk, or the amazing puffy white clouds that are going by today. There's something that shifts that God has created in our bodies when we have a grateful thought. So, yeah, I think I missed.
Barbara, I just wanted to share, I know a lot of these are physical movements, which are great, and I didn't know about the eyebrow thing, that's cool. But one of the things that I do to help manage stress is I don't know if it's weird or not, but I talk to myself.
Yes.
So like I'm a friend. So I learned that through self-compassion through Dr. Neff's work, but I'll literally talk to myself the way I talk to a friend to kind of calm myself down.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so good. Like, I love telling people how healthy that is to talk to yourself. It is so healthy to talk to yourself, or to imagine somebody who you know loves and cares for you, that you respect, talking to you in the moment. There's Kim, if I could put you on the spot, we have a friend who just graduated from nursing school, and part of her training was it was a secular program, so it wasn't prayer, but it was this gratitude exercise. Kim, can you like explain that real quick?
Yeah, they did a study with a lot of nurses. It was like 5,000 or something like that. And they found that if at night you intentionally reevaluate your day and think of 3 things that you're grateful for and how you contributed over a 30-day period, they found that that worked as well as low doses of antidepressants. And so some people that were using antidepressants found that they weren't needing that as much because this practice was actually replacing that, and those chemicals that are needed to restore the serotonin, the dopamine, those things were happening that way. And so I just love hearing these things, these simple tools. They're not complicated, right? But it's just that getting into that practice.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, it's so good because we're not against medication. I have ADHD and dyslexia, and I appreciate the medication I take. But to know that there are other ways too that we can do ourselves, that the medication is trying to help us to do, right? And so to even go along with that, in case anyone in our time together is on medication, these things will benefit you too. Any other questions before we move on, these rescue exercises? Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And it could be, it could be any, like, if there's the theology of mundane, it's a Celtic practice idea of this meditating on everyday things. So anything you do, if you start getting in the habit of noticing the color, your five senses, the textures, the beauty of it, the sound, the smell, the taste, brings you into this place too. And so, yeah, rescuing your own nervous system, absolutely. And as you do that, you'll be helping others too, because that's just the way that's the way it works. You might need to get a snack, Andrew. We got a few more minutes. So, all right, Kim, can I hand it to you?
Yeah, so yeah, what we want to do is just to continue to this discussion with a wheel of care that's actually from the ACEs Aware training that Barb was mentioning earlier. And so on this wheel, you see all these different possibilities. And do you want to show them that?
Mhm.
And so we're just going to do a little bit of looking through this, of being aware. And we want to think about, we've talked about a lot of different ways to do some of these, but to really think, what is one area this week that you would like to put in front of you that might go with this wheel? And again, under each one of these, there's so many things we could add, right? But maybe to pick one that you want to add this week that doesn't feel overwhelming, feels like it would be supportive to your nervous system. And then think about how could I make that a practice? And if anybody wants to share, you're invited to either in the chat or verbally. I mean, these aren't things we haven't seen before, I'm sure, but just to think about how to actually get them in. And while we do these things, this is what's building resilience. This is when we talked about building resilience for ourselves and our clients, practice the winding down before you go to sleep, mindfulness. I love that. Yeah. Some of those apps we put in there have an evening portion to them, so you can do a morning and an evening. Sleep, yes. Yeah. Nature. The Japanese garden, if you haven't been there this spring yet, is amazing right now. And it's cheap. If you're like me, cheap nature. Aromatherapy, that's beautiful. Yeah, under each one, there could be a whole list of different categories too. So yeah, I think just giving ourselves space, dance classes, love it. To think through how can we make these more a part of our lives. Dancing while you make dinner with your kids. We do that a lot around here. Turn on some crazy music. Let them pick the music, they'll find something.
I wanted to share, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like one way for me to maximize my time to be able to touch a couple of these, I have a friend that's really a supportive, relationship in my life, and we go walking, we were going walking more than once a week, but now it's sometimes once every 3 weeks, but we walk together. So she's my supportive relationship where we just, pray and talk, and then we go for physical activity. So we're walking, like about 3 miles, and then we're outside. So we're experiencing nature too. And all those things kind of like are one shot, deal for me, and so important. And so that's been really on my mind, to do that more frequently.
That's good. I love that you combine them. That is wonderful. Yes. And getting a friend involved, right? Because then there's accountability to actually follow through. Sometimes by ourselves, it's harder to make that happen. So Barb and I are good friends that way. And we have a kind of a group of us that have been together for over 20 years, and we can kind of help each other stay in that. But yeah, if you have things that you do that way, like how do you involve a friend? How does this help you hit a couple of them? I found this corny lady on Fabulous 50s who has these 5-minute exercises I can do in between Zooms. That has been really helpful for me. She's from Australia, so she has a good accent too. So some of those things, if there's things that you found helpful like that, put those in the chat. Yeah, walking is so big. Better eating. Yeah, self-care includes better eating, right? Like I love the cupcake image earlier, but then I'm like, yeah, I might not feel better later. We're gonna go into another section here, and this has more to do with the effects of caring for others. And this is also from the trauma stewardship book. And so we got these 2 dogs, one's the therapist, the other one's one of us. And they're saying, I bark at everything. can't go wrong that way, right? And so this hypervigilance that sometimes comes along with what we do, because of all the chemicals that we we are experiencing as we care for others, and that's very real. And so, how to continue to just have honest conversations with each other about that, I think is really important, and I've appreciated that in my circle. And so, we're going to just put up the trauma exposure response here. And it's really small on this slide, so we hope you have your handout here. But what we'd like you to do is just to spend a second looking through these and maybe circling the ones where you see yourself. I appreciated the woman, Laura Vandernoot Lipsky. She has spoken here in our valley as well at some things, so you may have heard her speak. But you just might want to go around that circle, just see where you see yourself, maybe the ones where you might be like, oh yeah, I've experienced all of these, and that's okay too, because we might be in a season where one is more prominent for us right now, right? I've got several really big things happening in my life right now, and I'm aware of some of my numbing that's going on for me, just kind of zoning and numbing that's happening when I'm in a space by myself. My mom is in a care facility and broke her hip. I have a really good friend who could be on this call with all of us who's struggling with some severe mental health things that came on very fast and hard, and then we have just the life we do of caring for others through our work and through the trauma trainings that I do. And so, yeah, just being aware of where I am on this wheel has been helpful. Just be able to name it. There is a power in naming things. Yeah, if you just want to sit with that, take a deep breath. If something kind of comes up for you, be aware of your tension maybe in this moment. Juggling a lot of things, yes. So yeah, so being able to find ourselves on this chart is helpful, because what it does is it names it, and then it gives us a way to handle the tension of it differently. And so that's where that tool we did at the beginning with the 4 steps comes in, is we can name it, and then we can begin to work on the tension of it and how it's creating tension for us. One of the ways this particular author found this to be real for her was she was actually on a vacation looking at a lot of beauty. If you want to, do you want to take it down, Barb? I think, is that okay? Looking at a lot of beauty, and she found herself, instead of being able to enjoy the beauty, she found herself thinking of how to triage the situation from this particular place, this beautiful cliff that they were on, and what might happen if somebody was there, and how they could help them, and how they could get medical aid to them. And so I don't know if you've had that experience. I know I have, being in a place where I didn't have to take care of anybody, but all of a sudden my system was trying to figure out all the ways I could handle what might happen in that space if something went wrong. And so that was her awareness personally, that she was being affected by secondary trauma. And the facts are, secondary trauma is all the same chemicals as first trauma. But the part that's different for secondary trauma, in one of the studies I've read, is that unlike the person who's experienced the trauma, when you're the one hearing about it, you don't have the same boundaries for that trauma that the person who actually went through it has. They know how far it went. They know when it ended. They can put some boundaries on it. When we're the ones listening to that trauma, we don't have those same boundaries because it wasn't our experience. So sometimes our mind and bodies can take us actually into deeper places and into opportunities and options that maybe weren't even part of that initial experience. And so that's why managing our own process here and finding where we might be on this is so helpful, because we can find ourselves, experiencing maybe more than that person was experiencing themselves. And so that gives us some permission to look at ourselves and to look at the grief, yes, and the exhaustion. So yeah, we want to give you another tool. And so Barb's going to actually lead us into that, thinking through maybe some of these places or one of your tension boxes to do what we call art thinking, which is, again, process art. So again, nobody's going to look at this. So this is just your opportunity to give a chance to work through some things here today. So Barb, you want to take us through that?
Thank you, Kim. That's really good. So part of the attachments that were available to you is this printout. And so if you were not able to print this out, I'm going to invite you to draw it out. You can take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper. And the idea is you want to put a face. It doesn't have to be perfect. On one side, facing kind of the middle. Like I have 3 lips on this. And so just the idea of having 2 faces, 2 silhouettes facing each other. Take a moment to do that. And so in the emails that you got, you have access to this too. So you can print it out several times, do it as many as you'd like to do. So I have some instructions. Well, we're going to do something called art thinking. It's like art therapy. We use a lot of this. Dr. Lopez, this is one of the ways that we help people who may be having a hard time actually creating the words, or their brains won't let them go there to process, or maybe it just gets overwhelmed with ideas. We use different art thinking techniques, different ways of what's called process art, where the purpose isn't the art in the end, but of the purpose is the creation of what we are doing to help our mind and our body process. So let me share a slide with you. So if you, I have some instructions here. What you want to do is consider the trauma boxes that you filled in and pick one of them. Just pick one of the boxes. And maybe it's one that you used before with a stick figure person. So looking at the left face on your paper, consider what your brain looks like when it is in tension. What does it feel like when it's in tension? Next, you want to consider what will you look like if you stay in that tension. I loved how Kim walked us through that stick figure carrying that box. I was like, no, that's too much. But what would you look like if you stayed in that tension? How would you feel if you stayed in that tension, in that place? What if you met your clients while you're in that place? Well, what if you go home while you're in that place? So consider those things. Now imagine colors. Imagine the colors of this tension. And are there patterns or textures? So in the left side, in the left face, if you can, just take whatever you have. If you have colored markers or pencils, just draw in there colors, patterns, textures, words, symbols. And if you don't have, let me lose it. I'll stop. If you don't have colors, you can use just your pen or your pencil, whatever you're using. So we're going to take just a few minutes to color that in. Sometimes it's helpful to play music during this time. I practiced it earlier, but it's not coming up for us immediately. So let me just take a few minutes to do that left side, or your tension, what it looks like. So now if you consider the other blank silhouette face. So looking at the right face, consider what your brain looks and feels like when it's in a place of acceptance, strength, your best state of mind. What will it look like and feel like if you stay in that place? Would meet with your clients in that place, go home to your family, or your cat in that place. And then imagine the colors of acceptance for you. When you are strong and you can look at the facts, are there patterns or textures? So now take a couple of minutes, explore using the colored markers and pencils, what it looks like to be in a place of acceptance in that right face. Now, as you're doing that section, or maybe you may be done, and we welcome you to come back to this on your own time, embellish it more. Now look at the space between the two faces. Okay, one face that represents what you feel like intention, and the other one of what it feels like to be in a place of acceptance. So in the middle space, what do you need? What is helpful for you to move from a place of tension to a place of acceptance? From a place of non-acceptance to acceptance, a place of maybe being overwhelmed to a place of feeling like you're in a best state of mind, that you have strength to look at the facts. So put that in the middle between your two faces. So we've done this hundreds of times, and we could actually spend an hour on this activity. I was curious, does anybody want to share any thoughts that came? What did you think about this activity? Is it helpful?
I can share.
Sure.
Actually, I can show it to you as well. So I have yellow in the tension with the little specks of red. And that's just when I feel like super overwhelmed. I can't think, and it feels very bright and loud in my head. And so the other one is the serene, calm, pink, purple little flowers. So just fairy tale, right? Feeling. And so when you said look in the middle, that was really hard. I was like, oh, geez, that's the hard part. And the only thing that I came to mind was like just be in the present, because I realized that oftentimes my anxiety comes from thinking in the future, and what if this happens? What if that happens? Or what if I can't do this? So yeah, just that.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us could resonate. Or a lot of us resonate with how you shared that. That was really good. So often when we feel like we need to problem solve, we may run to our bullet list, and consider doing this, because it'll put you in a mental place, physically and mentally, that you can now maybe look at the situation differently. Anyone else want to share? We've just got a few more minutes or two. It's always hard to share when you know there's just 2 more minutes. Well,
I could share.
thanks, Sandy.
Sorry, I'm sick. So that's where my physical ailments got the best of me. So I've been overly stressed about a bunch of stuff. So I need to do self-care and then constant contact with God. I need to continually be reaching back to him to ask him what the answer is, because I feel like when I worry too much, that's putting your body in constant state of stress, right? And this exercise actually is very helpful as well. This will be another tool in my toolbox. So yeah, just wanted to add that. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing. In the handout with our information, we have our contact information, our emails, as well as we have a website, clearthinkingsolutions.org, where we'll have trainings where we go deeper into these things or different kind of things that we do. Sometimes we do art thinking times at our office in North Fresno. A lot of the work we do is catered to groups like this, or even on Zoom or person. And so, yeah, Kim and I are so grateful that we got to share this with you. You're our favorite type of folks. Praying for you, love you. Thank you so much for loving our community.
Yes, thank you so much, Barbara and Kim, for sharing. And there's so many different things that I took from this, and I believe everyone else did too. And self-care is something that we constantly have to be looking at, and secondary trauma and things that are going to affect us in being helping professions and helping others. And I just greatly appreciate all the tools that you gave us to look at, and it's something that we have to constantly look at in our own lives. So I just encourage everybody to use these tools. And once again, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming. And we hope to see you all next month again at the Learn at Lunch. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.